welcome everybody listening from all around the world, all around this beautiful blue-green planet we call Gaia. Welcome everybody here listening in Australia, this beautiful country of ours. Welcome to the Mystic Drop, where each week we try and journey down the road less traveled by, as the great Robert Frost once poetically put. I'm your host, Roberto Roya. Joining me today is Fanos Panayides. How you going, brother?
Rob, how are you, mate? Thank you for having me on your amazing show, The Mystic Drop.
Yeah, well, my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your time and the wisdom that you're going to share today. I really appreciate it.
No, mate, look, I'm happy to, as we said before we're rolling, I'm happy to speak on anyone's show, man, to be honest. We're just all people living our lives, and I don't hold myself in any higher regard than anyone else, mate. And whether that show's got 1,000 live viewers or 3 live viewers, the message gets to somebody.
Exactly. And you've got that humbleness about you, which I love so much. So thank you again so much. But before we get into it, we've got a mystic drop incantation that I like to share with my first time guests, and it goes like this. We are 2 cosmic spiritual beings sitting around the campfire, 2 drops of light from the Great Spirit. Truth is our path, and wisdom is our teacher. We start with a salute, and now let our magic flow.
Dude, no, I want a glass. Where's my glass of wine? Hey, where's my glass of wine?
I should start like telling people that before the show, because it always happens. They always want to drop every time I do it.
I would have cracked open a pure blonde and had a drink.
Next time you're ready.
I mean the beer, right? The beer. What did I say? Cracked open a pure blonde? I mean the beer.
the beer.
Just in case.
Just in case. You never know who's listening these days.
Nah. Oh, he's going to edit it.
All right. So I always love hearing stories about how people actually, became awake, not woke, awake. Let's make that very clear. About everything that's going on in the world, how the corruption and seeing the world through new eyes. So what was it for you in your life that woke you up?
I've always had a very inquisitive mind, man. And I've always thought there was always more to the world in terms of everything. I've never looked at our existence as just this plain, we just came from nothing and there's no meaning to us and everything else. I've always known and believed there's way more to our world. And even now when we're looking at each other, we're not even really looking at each other. We're looking at, energy that's manifested in different ways to create, a screen and the individual I'm talking to and what's happening in the computer and all of that energy moving around. And there's just so many more layers to what we perceive as reality. And also, look, my father and my family have been always quite, I've always lived in a very woke type of family. And, there's never been an epiphany moment where I've been like, there's something going on. My whole life, I've never fully trusted the government, the politicians, I've never had any type of just complete trust in that whole system at all, right? And I've always been very inquisitive, and quite a long time ago, I came across, YouTube videos on the Illuminati, and there was a stage in my life where I went through where, I stopped believing that there was an antichrist, a Satan and whatever else. And I, started to think that was all bullshit. And then when I started, I don't know, I was about 25 or whatever else, I really started to look at that stuff. And I came across, as I said, the Illuminati and the Bilderberg group, and how there's all of this, deep evil satanistic worshipping, Luciferian worshipping, satanistic underbelly that's throughout the world. And it reignited my belief within, there is this ultimate evil. And I remember it says, the devil's greatest achievement was to fool the world into thinking that that the devil doesn't exist, right? And all of this stuff has come flooding back. But I've always been, ever since 9/11 and before 9/11, right? Even when 9/11 happened, the moment I started seeing the counter argument and started looking into what 9/11 was, I said, 100% this is a false flag event. 100%. Not one piece of a tail section, not one piece of a wing. You look at other plane crashes and there's bits and pieces of plane everywhere. And you're telling me a plane hits the Pentagon and there's not one recognizable bit of a fuselage, a tail section, a wing, a motor, nothing at all. A plane hits a fully concrete building, goes through the other side, and two buildings fall straight down on themselves. And then a building that wasn't even involved, building 7, falls as well. All of these things really created this thirst and need for knowledge in terms of what's really going on. And the interesting I find with all of this is that they call us the uneducated ones when we are the ones who have actually taken on alternate education through our own efforts and mean to try and find that information through our own effort. We're not the ones who've just believed the bullshit story we've been told, but yet we're the uneducated ones when we've put more effort and time into educating ourselves than those that call us uneducated.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And as you were talking there, it gave me flashbacks to when I was, growing up. I was about early teens when 9/11 happened in high school. And I think that was a big catalyst for me as well, to see that the world that I thought was the world was not, and the people that, rule this world are not the people, the politicians, they're just the puppets. And that got me rolling into questioning always, what's really going on. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, of course but this is the thing, right? When you do become unplugged, you can see all the puppet master strings. Yes. When you do become unplugged and you really have an open mind, then you even start looking at the Antarctic Treaty and say, why have 12 countries, 2 of whom were had bombed each other with an atomic bomb, be happy to hop onto a treaty 10 years later? And then you see that, well, is there really a Russia and a United States when they're all part of this Antarctic Treaty? And why? Why is everyone so hell-bent and no one ever takes themselves out of this treaty? It's the longest standing treaty that's ever been broken, right? The largest amount of countries that have signed on to. And this is when you do stand back, you can see the puppet masters. And a very interesting quote by the Illuminati in the book of 13 Bloodlines of the Illuminati. In the first line, it says, if you want to understand the world, or something along those lines, it says, no, think of the world as a stage and we're all actors, and you'll understand how the Illuminati see the world. They don't have a preferential side. They're not in support of the Jews or in support of the Muslims or the Islamics or in support of the Christians. They're not in support of anyone. They're the ones who pit the people against each other. They finance both sides of the war, and then they come in and pick up the pieces of what they were trying to achieve in the first place, which was, secure that bit of land or put that country in debt. And there's such an underbelly in terms of everything that's going on, but you really need to have an open mind and take yourself out of this. Well, no, there is no way that no one would hurt you. No, anyone could hurt you. And as long as you think that your government would never hurt you, you are naive, because that's like saying, well, would you trust anyone to take your child and look after him for a week? You'd say no.
Exactly.
I don't know who that person is. I don't know who they're involved with. I don't know whether they've got a criminal record. I don't know whether they're a pedophile, whatever else. So you won't trust a complete stranger to take your child for 7 days, but you trust the state to look after your kids 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and not question them and not question their motives and who those people are and who they're involved with and just how disgusting these people are when the cameras are off and they're in a room by themselves or when they're not being filmed.
And we've seen that the last 2 years, and I'm so glad, and it gives me so much hope that, a lot more people have woken up to what's really going on. And you could see that by what happened last week. Last week we saw, yep.
Am I coming through? Yeah, sorry, because I had my microphone muted, but it's still working. Okay, good.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm just going to turn that back on.
I was just saying that last week we saw that with, hundreds of thousands, even millions heading down to Canberra. You were there. You were on stage. Yeah. You did your speech. What were your thoughts of the event and, where are we going to go forward from there?
Can you do me a favor? You're going to edit this, right?
Yep.
Okay, can you cut out a bit and then we can start up again?
Oh, what happened?
No, because I want to see if you got the first part of the audio of this recording.
Oh, yeah, no, I got it. I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
So it came through on your end and it's recorded.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right, cool. Yeah, ask that question again, yeah. So in regards to Canberra.
Yeah, in regards
to
ask the question. Yeah, so in regards to Canberra, you were there, you were on stage, and what were your thoughts of it on the whole event, and where can we move forward from here?
Canberra, one word, just unbelievable in terms of the amount of people that were there, and I've never seen so many people at a protest before. The pictures don't do it justice. The drone footage doesn't do it justice. I have been to so many protests, and that was the largest concentration of people I'd ever seen. When we were doing the walk, it was, I don't know how many kilometers it is out of the city to the Parliament House, but I'd say it's about 5 kilometers, right? Probably more. It was a 2-lane road full of people as far as the eye can see. And there's a picture that captures it perfectly where I was on the middle of the bridge. I could see both ways as far as the eye could see, sea of people, most I've ever seen. There's a picture that shows at the top of the hill, still heading towards the Parliament House. And it was full all the way into the city. It was full and they were still coming out of the city. That's how many people there were, right? In terms of us being on the stage or whatever else, the picture really didn't do it justice how many people were there. But in terms of as an experience, it was insane to be at the Capitol, to be in front of the Parliament House, to be looking at those bastards in the face. As a government, in terms of as a corrupt system that's been oppressing the people, they were shitting themselves. That's why they brought out that's why they brought out their microwave, whatever they wanted to call it. They call it an LRAD. I don't think it was an LRAD. I believe it was something different. And I even believe that those weapons that are non-lethal, they still have really nasty side effects. And I think we were witness to that when we saw the people with the blisters and the serious burns that they'd suffered, considering it was the 24-degree day. I don't care what you say about UV spectrum. People would know a normal burn from a burn that's out of the ordinary, right? And people don't just make shit up for, just because they feel like it. But in terms of the event, it was good to see unity. It was good to actually finally be amongst, it was good to, I've met Tricky before, but it was good to be at an event with Tricky. I've met Dave before, but it was good to have everyone there. John Larder, Graham Hood, even the others, even though there was a second stage, it doesn't matter. There was still, Ricardo Bossi was still there, right? Craig Cole was still there. Everyone was still there.
Yeah.
Though there's politics involved and there was 2 stages, it doesn't matter. That people were still in Canberra, and it was just good to see so many influences all in the one place. and so many people in support from all different parts of Australia going to Canberra, making the sacrifice and being there, whether they stayed a day, a week, or whether they've been there for a month, right? Everyone did what they could to the best of their ability. And that was really good to see.
And that was just the people that, could be there. Can you imagine all the other millions that couldn't be there because of family, because of other circumstances? They would have wiped out Parliament if the rest of the millions were there.
Well, look, at the end of the day, they try and paint us to be this far right, extremist, violent. How many protests have there been with how many in attendance? And we haven't been as to 5% of the level of hostility, anger, violence, and incitement for violence as Black Lives Matter.
Exactly. That's right.
Did you see one of those AFP, anyone from the AFP rock up to a Black Lives Matter protest in Australia? Yep. But you're talking families, kids, whole actual families. What danger did you serve that you decided you had to bring out these weapons that you've never used before on the people? Why to those people? What warranted you to do that? And you can see it's almost like they don't want this to pick up momentum and become anything of significance. They don't want that because it's dangerous for because they know once we get to the stage that this becomes a mainstream conversation and the truth comes out, and it will come out. It's not going to be get rid of the mask mandates and get rid of that. It's going to be, how the hell did we get to this level of corruption? How corrupt really are you bastards? And everyone now has stopped watching the football, stop watching soccer, stop watching cricket, right? And they're focusing on one thing. These bastards that have been taken away and destroying what it is to have a free Australia from what it once was, and have destroyed us in so many ways, but they've done it in a way that people go, oh, well, we're not that corrupt. No, you just haven't realized just how corrupt this country is, right? Because that's how well everyone's in the pockets. The judges are all in their back pocket. The law, they've got control of everything. Let me just put this on silent. Sorry, mate. And you don't need to edit out that part. I just wanted to make sure that you've got the audio. That's all.
That's all good, mate. I'm loving this conversation. And you can see it, what's happening in the world at the moment. Canada is a perfect example. They've come out and said that the people in the streets are extremists when there's kids playing with their families, peaceful protesting. Yeah. You've got New Zealand at the moment. They've camped out in front of their parliament there. And these leaders, Trudeau and Ardern, they not once, even our Prime Minister, the last week, though, everyone was in Canberra. He wasn't even in Canberra. He went somewhere else. These leaders can't even stand there with their own people, shake their hand, listen to them, and have a conversation. No, they just put a blanket all over us and say we're extremists.
Well, what that does is it allows the police to have heavy-handed tactics and be accepted by the public. They need to set a precedent that these people are dangerous. So when they do have these heavy-handed tactics, i.e., do you think they would have been able to get away to shooting peaceful, unarmed people at a distance with rubber bullets on 3 separate occasions if they didn't come out with a news report that was calling us neo-Nazis? No. They wouldn't have been able to fire one of those things. They set the precedent. They paint the picture of who they're dealing with in order to be prepared for the immediate result that is going to come from their acts of indiscretion in terms of how they're going to handle themselves in a very, unethical, immoral type of manner, right? These people aren't stupid. And everything they do, they set it up for a reason, and they paint you as dangerous or whatever else. There was kids there, families there, right, in Canberra. They're just families. And there's the diversity of the crowd is the amount of different flags there are, if you just took a screenshot and looked at all the flags, there would have been over 20 different nationality flags there, including the Aboriginal flag, including that flag, right? There was no, minority here, minority there. There was a vast group of people from all different walks of life. There were grandmas, grandpas, cousins, uncles, all different age groups, kids in prams to, any age you can think of, all there. How many people were there? And no violence. I've worked in security, and 1,000 people, if you've got one more on there, you'll have a punch on. You're telling me there was how many people there? Let's say, let's just be really, let's be conservative with the figures and say it was 100,000. It was way more than 100,000. It was close to 1 million.
Yeah.
If you'd seen, if they got proper drone footage, if they stopped everybody and they said, everyone stop, we're going to do a flyover of all the crowd. That's what I want to put a suggestion for the next protest. That when they do the march, stop at a point and do a flyover so they can gauge the whole crowd, right? And get everybody, right? So you can get a proper estimation of how many people they're going to be. Imagine, I just lost my chain of thought. I forgot what I was speaking about.
Yeah, you were talking about what to do next in the next protest and where, and where to go from there.
Well, what I was trying to put forward was that these people aren't dangerous, right? And these people there's a large majority, and that's right. That's what I was trying to put forward. How many people were there? Was there one violent incident that they had to put on the news? And if there was, they would have put it on, right? So you're telling us we're super violent, close to 1 million people were in Canberra, and you had no juicy news footage of anyone being violent? Yet you're pulling out weapons that you've never used on Australian public before, on the least violent people you've ever had to deal with, over the whole, compared to people that had set a precedent in other countries where they were burning down friggin' cities. And not from one city, 3 or 4 different places in the United States, mass riots where they were burning down buildings, desecrating statues, destroying cop cars, everything you can name. They let those protests go ahead. No problem. Did you see AFP there with sonic weapons or LRDs or ADS or any other type of non-lethal weapons they claim, but they don't say the serious side effects that these things cause in people, right? Did you see any of that from a protest that had set the precedent to be dangerous? No. They weren't even in riot gear when Black Lives Matter were in Melbourne. In Ballarat, they even took the knee. Right? But now these other people who just want to feed their families, super peaceful, all different minorities, no one wearing like full Antifa, black this, black bags, looking like mercenaries, just average people, nothing to hide. Who's the dangerous ones?
And this is the thing, the whole narrative is just falling apart completely. The Queen just got COVID. Now, according to the mainstream media, for the last 2 years, this COVID has been the deadliest thing we've ever had. If it's the deadliest thing we've ever had, why hasn't she passed away? No, she's still kicking on. It's ridiculous.
And she's triple jabbed.
And she's triple jabbed. There you go.
Am I allowed to swear on this show or what? Am I allowed to swear on this show? What the fuck is the point of a vaccine if you have to have 3 jabs and they're still getting sick? Actually, interesting. I saw a tweet that this guy had 3 jabs and he said, I've had 3 jabs. And he goes, sore, like really, really feel really sick. Imagine how bad I would have been if I hadn't had my 3rd jab. And I'm like, oh my God. Are you kidding me, mate?
Like, where does it stop? Where does it stop? Do you have to have like 100 jabs to get rid of this thing? It's ridiculous.
And there was a caption underneath it that said, someone else had put a Twitter post underneath it that said, being grateful for not feeling as sick with a third jab is like thanking a condom company after having triplets. Something like that. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant tweet.
There's been some good ones over the last couple of years, I'll tell you that. But
excuse the language.
No. You know,
I just had to.
Yourself. I love it.
It wouldn't be Fanos if there was no F-bomb.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right. That's why
at least one.
That's why you're here, brother.
At least one.
Speaking your truth, speaking your mind, speaking your heart. Sticking with this theme, one of the biggest things that just riled me up over these 2 years is these fucking masks. These bloody fucking masks. What are your, like, now that we've been through it, what are your philosophies on the introductions of masks, which really got me, especially when they put it on children? That really got to me.
I did a full expose on masks. Before my YouTube channel got taken down, I did this thing that said, does Dan Andrews practice? Was he preaches? Because he said the thing about conspiracy theorists is they have their views have no basis in science, fact, or law. So I said, that's interesting. You should say that, Mr. Andrews. Do your mask mandates have a basis in science, fact, or law? And I did an expose, and I read the World Health Organization's, and I've got to be careful saying this because this show is going to be on YouTube. But let me put it this way. They have no evidence. When it comes to that shit, they have no evidence. What they found for so for a surgical mask, what they said was 2 hamsters in a box separated by a surgical mask. This is true. This is the actual documentation that the Australian government has. 2 hamsters in a box separated by a surgical mask has shown to have something along the lines of a efficacy towards preventing the transmission of SARS-CoV-2. That was for the surgical mask. For the cotton mask, it was an anecdotal study of a non-controlled environment of a hair salon where 2 female hairstylists, listen to this, worked on people for 8 days and hadn't contracted COVID. Oh, no, we're positive with COVID, but hadn't contracted COVID to any of the customers that they'd worked with. It was an observational study in a non-controlled environment. A hair salon was where they found for cotton masks to be acceptable as a means of preventing SARS-CoV-2. If you don't believe me, people, go and read the study, right? Go and find the 2 documents which the Australian government has on mask use and the evidence behind masks. You will be shocked. And there's words in there such as, despite the lack of evidence, that's what it says. Despite the lack of evidence, we believe that an impending consortium of people around the world, of professionals around the world, still believe they should be used. And then they've even said that they don't have no evidence of masks being used in a public setting at all. None. They have no evidence of masks being effective in a public setting at all. And then to add insult to injury, there is a study that says a cotton mask should not be worn at all to prevent influenza-like illnesses because they increase your risk of influenza-like illnesses. As from a study that was found by a Vietnamese hospital that wore cloth masks, they found that the cloth masks had more transmission of an influenza-like illness than the control, which was either masked or unmasked. And even within the World Health Organization's documents, they said that cloth masks should not be used, should be discouraged against using to prevent an influenza-like illness. So ask why the government allowed cloth masks to be used, and we're happy to allow them to be used. And after 24 hours of use, after that 24 hours, that cloth mask increases your risk of influenza-like illness because no one bloody washes them. It becomes a moisture buildup. And as for your surgical masks, after 4 hours of use, they are friggin' useless because they now have a moisture builder. And they, too, are no good. So all of these people that think, oh, yeah, I'm wearing a surgical mask. Really, mate, are you wearing it exactly like within the clinical setting where they get it, they have been given a procedure on how to take it on and put it off without touching the front of it, without accidentally contaminating the inside of it or whatever else they do? These idiots wear their surgical mask, go to eat at a dinner place, put the mask on the table where droplets could fall on the inside of the mask now, pick the mask back up and put it in their face and think they're preventing a illness which is going to spread like wildfire. If this thing was going to spread with the way they said it was, with the way people had been using these masks, we would have been absolutely inundated with sickness. They wouldn't have been able to keep up. That's the truth about it. You're not going to be able to put this a bit on YouTube now. Forget about it. YouTube will wipe this.
And
they'll wipe it.
And you see it again, the narrative falling apart. And another thing that really gets me, you walk around now, there's masks everywhere. There's masks on the streets, there's masks in the water, in the ocean, everywhere. They've just caused this huge pollution. It's just nuts.
Don't give me a plastic straw though, because I might damage the environment. Yeah, idiots.
Exactly. That's right. Exactly. And you walk in there, you said, when you walk into a restaurant, you have to walk in with your mask and then you take off the mask. What does the flu know? Does the COVID know? Is it that intelligent that it knows a person sitting down?
So in regards to masks, what shits me is these people have no evidence, yet they're happy to put $200 impose a $200 fine on people for not wearing a mask that isn't backed by science whatsoever. And there are thousands of peer-reviewed studies that have come out that have said that masks don't have any benefit in terms of stopping this shit from spreading.
Yep.
And this is what shits me. Trust the science, but don't trust the science. Listen to the experts, but only listen to our experts. So what, Dr. Robert Malone and Dr. Peter McCullough aren't experts? Oh, so I just listen to Dr. Sanjay Gupta because he's on board with it. But you're saying that Dr. Peter McCullough, one of the highest in terms of published doctors in the United States, don't listen to him. And cardiologist, right? Don't listen to him. He's a quack. He wasn't a quack 2 years ago. He wasn't even a quack 1 year ago. He only became a quack after he spoke out against this stuff. So science has gone from, this is my hypothesis. Has anyone got any information that could improve on my hypothesis? Let's explore other avenues. Let's find easier ways. Should we use an experimental substance in people, or is there something that's been around for 50, 60 years we could use? No, now if you question it, now you're labeled an anti-vaxxer. Well, so trust the science, but don't conduct yourself as a scientist. Is that what you're saying? So only trust the science but don't do any other science apart from what's being approved by the mainstream. And don't listen to any other information because information is dangerous now. And anyone who could be spreading information that's not the truth is dangerous now and could be labeled and just spreading dangerous misinformation. No. They're just spreading information.
Yeah.
And who's to say whose information is misinformation and whose information is the actual truth? Very dangerous slope.
You've just come to my next point about, all this cancel culture that's going on at the moment, especially with what's happening with Joe Rogan. These musicians that have come out and said, no, it's either you pick Joe Rogan or you pick me or I'm off. That's it. I'm off Spotify. Yet these same musicians are willing to share the same platform with R. Kelly, who was done for pedophilia. So it's just upside down. Well, what's your take on all this cancel culture that's going on at the moment?
It just shows just how much these people own, doesn't it? And it just shows, look, these people are desperate. The moment they kicked off this plan, they knew just how many people were going to be awake to their bullshit.
Yeah.
The moment this happened on a global scale like it has, They knew that people were going to start becoming awake to their bullshit. But what they didn't anticipate was people were going to use social media, the very weapon they thought they had at their disposal to indoctrinate the people. I don't think they anticipated such an information overload of what was going to be detrimental to their plan coming through social media. They did not anticipate, though they could censor everything that was being said, that the information was still going to get out there, because we are in this information age now. Look, you just running a Zoom call, you pretty much can broadcast the whole show and get this out to thousands of people. That 20 years ago, you would need $500,000 to set up to be able to broadcast this type of thing with the technology they had back then. Now this stuff's freely available and anyone can become their own media source. And I don't think they planned on that. So all of this cancel culture, they have no choice in the matter. Back years ago, when dictators tried to take over, they burnt the books. Now, instead of burning books, they censor and delete people. It's the same thing. Nothing's changed. They still, back then, they controlled the propaganda, and now they control the propaganda. Back then, they went after anyone. They silenced anyone, all the dissenters. I think that's a word, right? Dissenters, people who are fighting against, right? If it's not, I just made it up. Fuck the haters. I believe it is a word, right?
I love your style.
Yeah. So a word's not a word until someone invents it and people agree to use it, right? Exactly. I'm pretty sure YOLO wasn't a word, right?
That's right.
I'm pretty sure YOLO was a word.
Lol.
Yeah. Oh well, I think it's because they're using a culmination of other words, so you only live once. But you know what I'm saying, right?
I know.
Yeah. So let's keep going. But cancel culture is the year 2000, the 20th century of burning the books. But even in saying that, I question all of history now. Yes. What really happened in World War II?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Do we have the conversation? Was this guy a really bad guy and did he really slaughter that many people? Or was he trying to do something else back then, i.e. take out the Rothschild banking system? Right? There's all these, I'm not saying that anything didn't happen, but I'm saying that there's a lot of questions to ask now. And history might not be what we think it is. With everything, we could have been, who knows, they could have burnt the books 300 years ago. They could have recreated everything.
Definitely burning books 300 years ago. 100%.
So, yeah, before anyone gets on the, I support whatever, it's not that. I question everything now. Yeah. And if they manipulated the media and stuff now, who's to say they didn't do it back in 1950? Who's to say they didn't do it back in 1900? Perfect example. Nikola Tesla, they labeled him a madman, whatever else. So you labeled him a madman, but you also took the alternating current off him, right? And took away all of his inventions and hid them from the world. And the same madman who successfully transferred free electricity at the 1901 World's Fair, in 1900, he created an electric car which ran on electricity that would extract out of the atmosphere, out of our atmosphere, because he realized that our atmosphere is saturated with energy, right? The same guy labeled him a madman, really? Or was he really just going to free the world of the shackles of you globalist, satanic, Luciferian, elitist pig rats that have oppressed the people, and he was going to be a saving grace? And it's happened many times in history. The guy from 1980 who had invented the car that ran on water, he was the same. I think it was like 1985. No, 1995. They showed him on the news. He invented that car that ran on water. 1 week later, he disappears. No. He went to dinner and he was poisoned. Just, by coincidence. But these same people want to save us because we're destroying the planet. The same people who stopped the free energy Tesla was going to give us. The same people who've stopped any type of device that would cost the petroleum industry billions of dollars a year. The same people that have kept us dumbed down and they're the ones who have us living in this world now say that we're the problem when we are living in a byproduct of their world, and now saying that we're the problem because of climate change.
If you had the real owners of this world in a room, sitting across the table, the ones that own Dan Andrews, the one that owns Scott Morrison, Biden, Trudeau, Ardern, the puppets, what would you say to these people? Face to face.
Well, what would I say to these people?
What would you do? Even that's the question.
Mate, I would honestly say,
If you had them on trial.
How can you do so much evil in the presence of Satan when you know if Satan exists and you serve Satan, God exists as well? How?
Yeah.
You must know. You honestly think one is more powerful than the other? When, in scripture, Satan came and the devil asked for permission to hurt Job. Asked for permission. This is the ruler of this world. Still wouldn't go hurt Job till he went and asked for permission. What? Now, look, I'm not getting all scripture on you, but it's a good talking point, right? How are you saying this all-powerful, more powerful than the creator, but at the same time has to follow certain rules? And I honestly believe, Rob, that these people, they do have to follow a certain set of guidelines. They can't just oppress us. They have to do everything deceitfully. So it's our ignorance by consent which allows all of this to continue, because everything about our world is all through consent. The legal system in terms of legalese and dog Latin and this hidden satanic Luciferian world, the underbelly that all of these, that they control us through, which is no one understands it. Very, very few people understand and know how to read legislation. It's designed like that for a reason, because it's not meant to be fair. Yeah. That's why you need a lawyer. You shouldn't need a lawyer. If a system was fair, everyone should just be able to understand it. Even the most common man should be able to understand the system and defend themselves within that system. Otherwise, that system's not designed for the people, right? You can see that, everything that's created through everything that these guys have done, though they are taking advantage of us, it is advantage through consent and through, they're still telling us what they're going to do, whether it's through a movie, whether it's through, because they show us, have you seen all the futuristic movies like Demolition Man and all this? They're based in the future. There is this one world-esque type of government in all of these movies in the future. And there's the really, really rich, and there's no middle, and there's the poor, and there's the outcasts of the people who don't want to form part of this utopian perfect society, which really has got this undertone, if you really look at it, of just control and oppression and manipulation. And there's the people that are living off the other side, which are free. And you've got this Hunger Game-esque type of everything these guys do is through consent. And, your ignorance is no excuse, right? They say it. They say your ignorance is no excuse for the law. Well, your ignorance and your acquiescence is no excuse that you're getting screwed over. I'll rephrase. If you had enough education in terms of what you know, right, then you wouldn't be being taken advantage of. You'd be able to stop this, right? And you say, no, I don't want to be part of this. So it's all through consent. Everything that's happening right now is solely through consent. And if everyone just turned around tomorrow and said, no, just all at once, if all of Australia tomorrow just said, no, we're not going to follow these rules anymore. Yep. This would be done tomorrow.
I'm seeing it would be over. I'm seeing a lot more of that though. I go into the shopping centers. half of them are not wearing masks now, and a lot more are waking up to because the narrative's just falling apart. That's the simple fact of it. It's not holding together. So
Yeah.
I really do have hope now that we don't go back to where we were. That'd be the worst, or even worse.
Well, climate change is coming now.
Well, you've got Russia. What's going on in Russia at the moment as well, and
that's a distraction.
That's a distraction.
It's an unfortunate distraction, and no one deserves to be part of war. I don't care whether the New World Order's headquarters are primarily in Russia and they're taking out targets. Primarily in Ukraine, and they're taking out targets in Ukraine or whatever else the understory might be compared to what the mainstream media. Nobody deserves to suffer pain or injury or deserves to lose their home or become any type of war casualty. Yeah. So it's an absolute shame that's happening in any part of the world right now. Everything's by design, though.
Yes, that's so true. We're coming to the end of this, and I've got a word association that I like to do with you. So I say a word or a person's name or something, and you say the first thing that comes to your head. Okay?
Yeah, cool.
I call it. What do you hear?
Psychological assessment.
Well, no, I call it. What do you hear? What do you say? This guy
say, I got it. Rob's working for the government right now, and there's a psychological assessment he's been paid to do.
Far from it.
Joking, right. People. Fuck. People don't have a sense of humor these days.
That's it. All right, number one, Dan Andrews.
Oppressor.
Captain Graham Hood.
Visionary.
Wow, that's a good one. Julian Assange.
The truth? This is the first thing that came to my head.
That's beautiful. Anastasia Palaszczuk.
Conflict of interest. That's not a word, is it?
Oh, no, that's all right. We'll go with it.
Yeah.
Masks.
Conflicted.
Masks.
Bullshit.
Pauline Hanson.
Misunderstood.
Craig Kelly.
Question mark.
Wow. Okay. That'll get people talking about that one.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of. I don't know what to think of him, bro. Like, all bullshit aside, until I actually see what fruit he bears, I can't judge the bloke.
Yeah.
Yes. More than likely, he may be a Freemason, but I don't know for sure. Right? More than likely, he might be a pedophile protector, but I don't know. And because we're at this stage, I just want to give someone the benefit of the doubt in a glimmer of hope. Someone's not just a self-interest, self-centered asshole who's just doing this for their own fucking personal gain and no other reason. I just have to have some type of faith in the people that are out there in all the different areas that are fighting in this country at the moment. It's easier for me to just have faith in them at the moment. But question mark. Could go either way.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Hollywood.
Could go either way.
Hollywood.
Oh, predictive programming.
Hillary
That's not one word though.
No, that's all right. We can bend the rules a little bit. It's all good. Hillary Clinton.
Satanist.
Alex
Psycho.
Psycho. Alex Jones.
Warrior.
Nice. Trump.
Undecided.
Okay. And Biden.
Pathetic.
Beautiful. I always love to end.
That's an interesting thing to do.
Yeah, no, I've seen it on a couple of other. Who was it? Do you know Valuetainment? Have you seen Valuetainment? It's a similar podcast to Joe Rogan, and he's got a lot of people on there, and he was interviewing Alex Jones, I think it was, and he did the same thing with Alex Jones. So I thought I thought I'd give you a go at it. And you gave
Well, I
some
didn't
really,
do. Well, I didn't say one word though, so I screwed it up. Everyone's
no,
gonna
no,
think
it's
I'm a.
all right. We can mix it up a bit. That's all right.
The trolls are gonna go. See, we knew he's a fucking retard. They said word association, and he said a whole fucking phrase. This guy's a moron. How do people even follow this bloke? Seriously.
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
I can already see. I can already see where the trolls are going to start writing. I can already see it.
I always love to end on a really high note, and always end with hope. So, what messages of hope would you like to give Australians and citizens of the world? Because I know you're not doing this for your own good pleasure. You're doing this because you are a freedom leader. You've got that burning desire and truth to get the truth out, and you really care for humanity deep down. So, what messages of hope would you like to give humanity?
Though the world is full of darkness at the moment, understand that the only thing that can beat darkness is light. And light will always beat darkness. And darkness, no matter how hard it tries, can never take out the light. But even the smallest light can take away the darkness.
That's beautiful, brother. Thank you so much for sharing that. I hope you come back again. It's been an absolute honor to have you on, and again, thank you for all you do, man.
Cheers, Rob. Appreciate it, mate.
Where can people go and find you, support you with everything you're doing?
So I've got a Telegram channel, Fanos the Voice. I've got a website, fanosthevoice.com. Everything's getting upgraded. I'm organizing to have new merch, new t-shirts, new hats, a whole bunch of other stuff. And also Instagram, you know who I am, .the voice, starting with you, not a Y-O-U. There's going to be a lot more coming. I've also got my podcast, Fanos the Voice, the Fanos the Voice podcast, which is on Rumble. I usually do 2 or 3 live shows a week. So that's coming back as well. But yeah, that's where you can find me, guys. Also, I've got media is the real virus. They're all gone, but I've got the hats. I've got a few hats coming in. So if anyone wants a media is the virus hat, you can find it at fanosthevoice.com. Rob, thank you so much for having me on the show, mate. Listen, dude, I'm going to put my best foot forward and start bringing a lot more guests on, whatever else, mate. So, might get you on the show. We're going to have a chat as well. It's always good.
We'll share a drink next time as well.
Oh yeah, we'll do a pub chat.
That's it. Oh mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much again, Fanos.
No worries, brother. Happy to be on, and thank you for having me on the Mystic Drop, guys. To all my guys, followers, or whatever else who are going to watch this, subscribe to this man's channel. Amazing interview, and I like the way he used the word association at the end that I fucked up totally, right? Because I was only able to use one word. So word association, Fanos, Malaka, right? That's for all the haters out there. See you guys. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Fanos. This is the Mystic Drop, and you've been listening to Fanos. Thank you, Fanos.
Cheers, brother. Thank you.
Go.